Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I'm going to go over a couple questions that people asked on my YouTube videos. Love to comment, ask the question, or both. Marco says or asks, my biggest problem is the environment I live in. I'm always around my father and my sister who are both severely overweight, and it seems the only thing they're always thinking about is food. Alright, so before I even continue with the rest of that, yes, environment plays a huge factor for a lot of people. It can be a big temptation for many people as well. Now, this is something I actually talked about during my live stream yesterday. When I first started fasting, I was living by myself. So when I went home, there was no real temptations. It was just whatever I cooked or brought home. I only ate when I was hungry. I wasn't surrounded by food from other people. So that was easy, at least in the temptation department. But as life goes, everyone's gonna have a little different form of temptation. And that is where that willpower, that discipline, the mindset of what you're trying to do actively plays a big part. Because even though I was living by myself, I was working a corporate job. I had to go to the office every day, 9 to 5, and I worked with a lot of younger people who loved to eat. They were tall, skinny guys that could eat anything and would never gain weight. And they always wanted me to go out with them for lunch and just hang out with them, and I did. So even though I was doing 90-hour fasts, and at one point I was doing the 165-hour fasts, I did a 184-hour fast, I would actually go to lunch with them. I would sit there and I would watch them eat. We would be in the office and they would have snacks all day. And that was always a temptation, always a temptation. But here's the thing. I gave myself that on and off switch of this is when you're going to eat. This is when you're not going to eat. I also said this yesterday. The only rule I gave myself, the only rule I give myself today, I have no real restrictions when it comes to what I can eat, how much I should eat, my caloric intake, how long I should be eating for. The only rule I give myself is, Jerome, today you're going to fast for 65 hours, and then I do it. After that, after the 65-hour minimum is up, then everything's like off the table as far as rules go. I can eat as much as I want. There are no macro restrictions when it comes to carbs or anything like that, or what kind of food I eat, if I want to eat fast food or whatever. Obviously, over time, a lot of that has changed and I've tweaked things, but that's also the evolution of my diet and where I'm at mentally today. It might be different for other people. The one thing I have to point out is you also have to consider the fact that even though I give myself no restrictions, I was also fasting for 90 hours. I would had to have eaten over like 8,000, 9,000 calories to even gain weight. And I knew physically I was only capable of around 6,000 to 7,000 calories. So even if I ate that many, I would still lose weight. If you're doing a 16-hour fast, you're not lifting the restrictions off when you're going to eat 6,000 calories, because obviously that's not going to work. When I moved back to Chicago, the lockdown was starting to happen. I wasn't sure where I was going to be moving to exactly yet, so I was staying with my mom. And you know, my mom, she shares a home with 2 of my uncles and another of my aunt. So I'm Filipino. And in a Filipino household, at least for me and with my family, eating is a big part of our lives. I think this might apply with a lot of other families as well, or a lot of other, cultures. But in a Filipino household, one of the questions that's always asked is, did you eat yet? Did you eat yet? Did you eat yet? Did you eat yet? In a way, if you don't eat, sometimes it's even looked as offensive that you're not partaking in joining in that. And so even though my family knew I was fasting, there was still always the invitation to eat. So that temptation was always there. I wasn't even cooking the food. Food would already be prepared. There would always be leftovers. And again, that is where I had that mindset of, no, I can't do it. I'm only eating when my fast is finished, and it's going to be under my own rules. So even though I don't have those same temptations as you, I can relate. I think a lot of people who watch this or who's watching this right now, they can relate as well. I think temptation is something that's always going to be around. After I moved out and I moved into my own place here in Chicago, like, I live in the city and there's food everywhere. People are eating outside everywhere. There's restaurants left and right where I live. And that is just the nature, well, of this city. And I think just in general, people love to eat. They love to go out. They love to enjoy themselves. I mean, the thing is, food is associated with pleasure. It's something that you do socially. It's something that you do with friends, with family. It's to celebrate things. I totally get it. And I think you just have to put that mindset of, today is a day that I'm not eating. If you are in a fasting regimen and you know that you're not supposed to be eating for that day, you just got to turn that switch on. I feel for you and I understand, but I also know that I have gone a year and I have gone to social gatherings. I've gone to parties. I've gone where people are drinking and eating. And I kind of am that guy that's like, oh, no, I'm not eating today. I'm just hanging out, or I'll have a Diet Coke or whatever. And that's really about it. I know how that temptation goes, but regardless of your environment, as difficult as it may be, the one thing that I have talked about before is that, and I've said it, I think many times at this point, is the food is always going to be there. A social gathering might have happened like last minute and you didn't prepare for it. So now you have to go to this thing and you know you're fasting for that day. But if it makes you feel any better, I think there are a lot of us who watch this who have gone through it. I've gone to many of these things and haven't eaten. I was saying on the stream yesterday, I had to go to, it was like a baby shower, a baby sprinkle, and there were snacks and there were donuts and there was food everywhere. And I ate none of that because I was just starting my 65-hour fast. But because I've done it so many times, it becomes natural to me. It's always weird when people say, hey, eat, like, do you want anything? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I think I've gotten so used to it that it doesn't really bother me anymore. So Marco continues on and he talks about how his father owns a restaurant and the food's just great and it's free. And, you know, I try to at least give my 2 cents on a lot of that. But he also says here, I have to get over the 72-hour mark, riding the hunger waves as they come and go, and then keep it up for as long as I can. The longer it goes, the easier it gets. For me, it's the same thing. Usually the longer it goes, the easier it gets for me. But then he says here, if I break it early for any reason, it takes ages to get back on it. I think this is a comment I'm seeing a lot lately. Now here's my approach to how that works. When I break, I make sure to eat. I make sure to eat to satiety. I make sure to eat until I'm full, until I tell myself, yeah, you're good. Like, you eat any more, it's going to be uncomfortable. That's usually the point that I stop eating, because I know what's going to happen after I stop eating. I'm about to embark on another 65-hour fast. I've already done it 30-something times in a row. Before that, I was doing 90-plus hour fasts 20 times in a row for almost like 6 months now. I can't remember the last time I ate back-to-back days in the last 6 months. I haven't in those 6 months. So there's the discipline, there's the willpower that's instilled there. But that is also the reason I eat a lot. That's the reason I do these things, because I do like to overeat. I eat in big quantities, which is why I fast for longer periods of time, which is why I'm so full that the next day I'm not as hungry. That's why when I went to this baby shower, like, I wasn't even thinking about food. I was there to see my friends and congratulate them and just enjoy my time there. But I already knew I was going there not to eat. I don't think about food that way anymore. If I know that I'm fasting on that day, I already take food out of the equation. Maybe that's something that might help not only you, but other people. Take food out of that equation. Tell yourself, you ate yesterday. You already ate. So like the other day when I refed, I ate 5,500 calories. I had my fill. Yes, there's a social event the next day, but I already knew I wasn't going to eat. And I think already coming into the event, coming into the that social gathering that way just made me realize that like, I'm not going to eat. I'm done. And I think that's what's pushed me for so long, because I've already told myself that food is off the table for that day. All right, the next comment was from Sharon Ann, and it was actually not too long ago today, but it says here, I really need some help. I really want to get 15 pounds off by the end of next month. I have to have a huge surgery and I want to be as healthy as possible. So what's been happening to me lately is about 18 hours into my fast, I feel like my blood sugar drops, or maybe it's even food anxiety. I was doing 65 to 72 hour fasts, but stopped fasting about a month ago. I keep getting hung up this time. Any ideas to get me through this? It's important that I be at my ideal weight. This is kind of loaded when it comes to trying to figure out how to help here. So the first thing is, yes, I know you want to lose X amount of pounds in the next month, but you also need to realize and tell yourself that you can only do so much during that time. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't lose that amount of weight, but a lot of that depends on your discipline and willpower. And it looks like you're having a difficult time as it is. Yes, you were able to do 65-hour fasts before. You were able to do 72-hour fasts before. I was able to do 90-hour fasts for a long time. And then I switched to 65s, and then I tried doing a 90 recently, which I did, but it was not easy. I ended up getting headaches and I felt lethargic and I just did not feel like myself. And I think a lot of that was because I have been doing 65-hour fasts for 3+ months now, and then trying to transition back into a 90, it made me realize, wow, this is that feeling I had when I first started fasting over a year ago. If you're worried that your blood sugar is dropping, you should really first check your blood sugar and make sure that everything's okay. Now, if it's just because, like me, when I was doing my 90 and I felt like I had a headache that day when I tried doing that 90 because I hadn't done it in so long, I knew that it was most likely withdrawal, either some kind of withdrawal or just because I haven't fasted in that long. So what I ended up doing is I fought through it. That's what I did before. That's what I did when I first started fasting, and I felt all those feelings as I fought through it. But it wasn't easy. Most of the time it was me laying in bed whining. Like, oh my God, not again. How is this happening again? I haven't felt like this in a while. I ended up taking my electrolytes earlier than usual because I hadn't felt that way in such a long time. And it did help. So maybe that's something you need to double check. Make sure your electrolytes are in check. You're taking what you need to take daily while you're fasting. That might be of importance too. But again, if you feel like your blood sugar is going low, that might be something you need to consider. I know you talked about a huge surgery coming up and you want to be as healthy as you can be. But the one thing I want to point out here is, yes, I understand that physically being healthy is important, but you got to make sure that you have that mindset to be capable and to be able to get through those fasts. If you want like the bare bones honest truth, as long as you're physically able to do it, you just need to fast and have the discipline, the motivation, the willpower to do it. You got to fight through it. That's, if you want like the clear-cut answer, that's really what it's going to be. You just have to fight through that pain of fasting, which is not the easiest to do, which is why a lot of times lately, it isn't something that I encourage as much. If you're physically able to do it and you have that determination, please, by all means, anybody who watches this, who wants to go for X amount of days and is like physically and mentally able to do so, by all means, like go for it. I would love to hear those success stories. I mean, who am I to say what you should and shouldn't do? I was doing 7-day fasts. I was doing longer than that. I've been doing these 90s, these 65s for months on end. So I totally understand and I totally can relate. But you have to make sure that you are not only physically prepared, but you're mentally prepared to get through the bumps and rough spots in the road to get past all of it. Sharon Ann, I'm very thankful that you look at me as an inspiration and to help you through this, and I hope I can. I hope that you're able to lose those 15 pounds. I hope the surgery goes well. But I also hope you're able to tell yourself that if you don't lose those 15 by that next month and you're only able to lose 5 or 7 or even 3, that you did what you could, that you prepared yourself mentally and you gave what you could to get through those days and just progress forward. The one thing that I've recommended to people is when you're having trouble fasting, when you're having trouble getting through those humps, make sure, again, that your electrolytes are supplemented, that you're getting enough. If you're having trouble because you're just drinking water, I always suggest trying to drink like carbonated water, seltzer water, a LaCroix, a Perrier, or whatever else they call it. For me, one of those things, especially when I'm having a really, really tough time, I end up having a Diet Pop, a Diet Coke, Diet Dr. Pepper, whatever you want to call it. That, for me, is a huge way to get me over that hump. Anyway, please keep me posted and let me know how everything goes. Before I go, I want to thank everybody who was on yesterday's live stream. It was a lot of fun and it was also a bit chaotic, but I think next Sunday, I'm going to do it again at 8 p.m. Central. So please feel free to check it out. It's going to be a little more structured. And one of the ways I want to do it is if you have questions that you want me to go over, ask me on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at finallyfasting, hashtag fasting roll call. Put that there so I know that's specific to the stream and I can take that question and kind of like screenshot it so we can go over it. I might not be able to go through everything depending on how many questions are asked, but I will try to go through as much as I can during the allotted hour that we have. Also, before I go, I do have a Patreon for anybody who wants to support, help offset costs. It does mean a lot to me. I want to thank all my patrons who are already supporting. For anyone who's interested, you can go to patreon.com/finallyfasting. I'm trying to work on some extra content, kind of like maybe give like a regular update when it comes to like video diaries or something like that. Just something different to the people who support that way. Anyway, hopefully this video was useful and helpful. I feel like I say the same thing all the time. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's it for today. This is also different for me because obviously I'm not sitting at my desk with the microphone in my face. I'm trying to do a little something different. Just trying to like change the game up a little bit. Anyway, how many times did I say anyway? I'm going because this is too much. Bye guys. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.